guys, welcome back, and we are on to the second part of August in Moinetta's diary. So the first part of August was sort of calm compared to some past months, but that's okay. We'll take it and let's open it up and get in there. I'm so excited. I hope you guys liked the last video, and here we are. We're going to start on the 15th of August. And let's go. So the 15th of August is a Saturday. Rained hard all day, clearing at night. The women went downtown shopping. Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds arrived from wherever before dinner and stayed rest of day. I went down to Sadie's for about 2 hours. At night she had drive to McKee's, Mills, and back. In evening, we all went to something. It looks like over river all night. Along river? No? Okay, so maybe somebody camped. All right, the 16th, fine and cool. Oh, yes. I went to church in the morning. In the afternoon, Lillian went to McKee's Mills. Mrs. Fraser went to see Mr. So-and-so. Thelma and Joe H. went to Fundy Park. Okay, so we read about that last month, and we talked about it in the roundup where an 11-year-old boy, so Fundy Park, it's a national park, and it's beautiful. Oh my goodness. I went in to see Sadie before she left for Dorchester. Went to stay with Hattie, while the rest went to Boston. In the evening, Mrs. Fraser and I went to church. Ida heard our next man. I don't know what that means. And that's definitely man. Head over next Monday. Ida head over next Monday. That's probably what it says. Mr. Fletcher preached. Assistant to Pike liked him. There's no underlining going on there. All right, the 17th. Fine. Mrs. Fraser washed. In afternoon, Thelma and Joanne went downtown. A couple came up to supper. In the evening, Sterling took us down to see Aunt Vinny better. Out picking raspberries. Oh, I wonder if that's the Aunt Vinny. Vimy. I can't tell if it's Vinny or Vimy. I wonder if she was out picking raspberries. And went out to Steedersville to see Thelma and Helen. Ray went to camp at Utopia. I wonder if that's a fish camp. Rachel got home from hospital. August 18th. Fine. I went up on St. George's Street to take Mrs. Miller's plate back, and she gave me a large piece of raspberry pie. Good. Then went in to see Mrs. Crandall, who is lonely. Up to Dominion store and got 1 pound of margarine. Thelma and Joe went to Louisville for the day. Verna phoned. Feeling some better. So cold at night. Mrs. Fraser made furnace fire. Oh, the weather is turning. That's crazy because just like 4 days ago it was hot. All right, August 19th. Fine. Thelma and Joanne went to Sunny Bray to dinner and supper. Ralph Gorman's card from on way from Vancouver. At Aberdeen, I called to see Mrs. Blum, yeah, Mrs. O'Blum in morning, met Verna halfway, and she brought me apple pie, a biscuit, and apples. Mrs. Fraser went downtown. I love that she knows where everybody's going. We have some pen leakage here, showing you a little pen leakage. All right, August 20th. Fine. Thelma and Joanne and Mrs. Fraser went shopping. By noon times raining. Mrs. Fraser over to supper. Thelma and Joanne called to see the bride. I wonder who the bride is. Mrs. Comfort Eagles in evening. Lillian went to 2 showers. Everybody's getting married apparently. Mrs. Gastro came home. Ray came home from camp. I hope we get to find out what this camp is, if it's a fish camp or what. The 21st, fine. Thelma and Joe, oh my goodness, that looks like it's another language. Left here about 10 for home by bus. Mrs. Fraser washed. They would get home at something about 9. Mrs. Fraser and Lillian went down shopping in the evening. Lillian got 3 new dresses. I went out to store and got a loaf of bread. Emergency cases went into hospital. Emergency cases went into new hospital. Mrs. Murray's baby born today, it being the 1st. Oh my goodness, that's pretty historical. So they had last month they had gone to the new hospital and did a tour, and so now they were taking emergency cases at that new hospital, and Mrs. Murray's baby was the first baby born in the hospital on August 21st, 1953. So that should be exciting. We should be able to get some kind of information about that. I hope. Did I say information or confirmation? August 22nd. Fine. Beautiful day. Mrs. Fraser went to Dominion store shopping. Walked. Sick rest of day. Oh my goodness. Old hospital patients moved into new hospital at upper end of city. Hospital cost $3 million. Wow! That is definitely $3 million. So back in 1953, the hospital cost $3 million. Wow. We have a busy day here. August 23rd. Fine. All day, but thunderstorms all evening and at intervals throughout the night. Mr. Fletcher preached a wonderful sermon in morning. In that must I do to be lost. And many introduced us to them, and they are fine people. We had such a nice time with them. 1 Baptist and 3 Presbyterians. They were on their way to Upper Canada. At night, there was a mass meeting of the Baptist churches in our church. Someone from London spoke good. Church packed. Thunderstorm all evening. Pouring when we came out. Got ride home with somebody. Met Perry at church. Met Mrs. Perry at church. She was Belle Budmer's daughter. I know the pronunciation of these names doesn't matter, However, it's difficult to not say them when you're reading it for the first time and you're trying to figure out. So I do appreciate you guys sticking with me. Okay, so that was nice. All right, August 24th. Cold, rainy day. I pressed my skirt and I got so something last night. Cold? Talked with Verna. Went to store and got sausage for my supper. Lillian got my PO money order cashed that Frances had sent me $5, wrote letters. So see, I feel like while she lives with whomever, and she's always around other people, I feel like she takes care of herself mostly. Pardon me. It's not boring me. I need to eat lunch and I'm thirsty. So, okay. Frances had sent $5 and we don't really know who Frances is, but Frances has sent money to her multiple times. All right, guys, we're closing in. The 25th, fine. Mrs. Fraser washed and ironed, and I went up to Sherrod's and paid $6 on Monument. Went to Jimmy's something. Got bracelet for my watch. Came home not feeling very tired. Aunt Vimy something. She had lost her watch Sunday night at our church. Sadie came home from Dorchester and came up here in the evening. Looks better. She was down there over 1 week. Sometimes. Oh my goodness. Okay, August 26th. Rained all day and cold. Ooh, I love that. Verna phoned in the morning. Ray making things to take to convention on St. John next Monday. I wonder what he makes. Before taking school at something again. I made an apron. Mrs. Fraser, very miserable. Mrs. something came home. Something Ralph in the hospital. Lillian went to group meeting convention at something. Wow. Poor Mrs. Fraser. She is always ill. Okay, August 27th. Dull this morning. Looks like rain. Did rain. I just get a mental image when she's writing, dull this morning, period, because there's a period. Looks like rain, period. Sometime later, oh, it did rain. It's so cute. Mrs. Fraser made donuts. Oh, it is now 10 a.m. and I must go and get my breakfast. Mrs. Fraser gave me 3 donuts. She is very miserable this week. Sadie's sick with something attack. It looks like with a B. Lillian went to prayer meeting. I was down to store for milk. Made half a slip. Mrs. Fraser got basket peaches. The 28th, dull. Looking fine at noon. Had thunderstorm during the night. Sent Frances a paper and Gertrude a letter. Aunt Vimy hasn't found her watch. Her head is lots better. Went down to see Sadie a while this afternoon. Feeling better. Mrs. Fraser went down to meet Lillian at 5 p.m. Lillian getting a hat. Looks dull tonight. All right, we have 2 more days. And what was I thought of something. I was going to say something. It went out of my head. Okay. We have the last 2 days. Can you believe it? We're going to be done reading August, which is fine. It was very, very slow. And I really feel like I'm going to add the wrap up, possibly. I don't like adding them to the videos just because I like things organized in a particular way. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Sorry. Okay, August 29th is a Saturday. Fine and hot. Lillian left for Andover on the 11 a.m. bus. Mrs. Fraser and I went up to see Mrs. Crandall in the evening. Edith's little boy fell off a tree and, afraid, broke his arm. Mrs. Fraser and I went down to Mitchell's store in the afternoon. Sadie down to Marjorie's now, and Marjorie came back to shore. Poor little kid. August 30th, Sunday. Fine and very hot, 91 degrees. I went to church in the morning and heard Mr. Ray Campbell. Good. Walked home. Verna phoned. All right, guys. So, yeah. Oh, no. There's 31. I'm not good with numbers. Are you all sitting there going, there's 31 days in August? Are there 31 days in August? Hey, Google, how many days are in August?
August has 31 days.
Why was I thinking August only had 30 days? Okay. Anywho, I mean, I've been around for 53 years. You think I would know that. All right, August 31st, fine and hot. Mrs. Fraser washed. I went on to Sadie's a little while. Finished beating my sheet. Bashing? Beating. Beating. It's not a W. That is definitely a B. I thought you only did that to rugs. I don't know anything. Finished beating my sheet. Ready to stick. Mrs. Florence Brewer passed. Superintendent of new hospital. Oh. Superintendent of new hospital. Fire on Dorchester last night. Housing 3 families. Mrs. Brom's daughter lived in one apartment. They went down, saved mostly everything. Somebody visited. Ray left for wherever at St. John. Mr. and Mrs. Sisson took Verna and Tab down to Albert Company. Okay. Wow. So I was trying to read it. Mrs. Florence Brewer died. And then it says superintendent of new hospital. Fire on Dorchester. So I don't know if the lady was the new superintendent of the hospital that passed, or the lady that passed and then new sentence, superintendent of new hospital, fire on Dorchester last night. I don't know. Anyway, there we go. We are done with August, and this is all we have left. Oh, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching and enjoying. If you have any comments, comment down below. And if you are liking this content and you have not subscribed, please do. And thank you so much for spending time with me. And I've enjoyed spending time with you. And let's close her up. Oops. All right. Oh my goodness. see you in the next one. Bye.